So your next feature film would be in, I think, 2012 with Hello Herman, starring Norman Reedus. That movie was filmed and debuted right on the right kind of at the cusp of Norman becoming a sensation for his role as Daryl Dixon in The Walking Dead. What was it like working with him? I mean, did you get a sense at the time that he was about to explode on the scene?
Yeah, and he got a sense of that too. I think he was about to start season three. And he was like, "You didn't see it." And I'm like, "No, I didn't see it." And he watched it, of course. We had a very nice breakfast and nice Zooms because we wanted to check
Yeah.
each other, feel each other out, and see if we wanted to work together or not. But I'm glad that it worked out. He came, he brought his heart to it. He's a very, very nice person, really good actor. And we had a great time. We tried to do a movie to tell a story, and it was another independent movie. Um, but I'm always attracted to things that feel socially relevant. And because, like I said, my life changed when I had children, I am very drawn to something that has to do with our kids falling through the cracks, even now in Nashville. It's absolutely devastating. It's
Yeah.
heartbreaking what happened with that shooting. And when you look at the pictures of these kids that will never have, the continuation of their lives, it just makes me cry. And it takes, it's like the play of Arthur Miller, All My Sons. It takes everybody to protect our kids. It does take more than a village. Um, so that really draws me. And I think that is recurring in my work as a director. What happens when kids fall through the cracks?
How do you go about casting your films? Am I correct that you essentially do the casting yourself? I noticed that you often work with some of the same actors multiple times. The late great Paul Sorvino being one of them.
I did work. I have a lot of relationships with a lot of actors, of course. So I'm able to reach out directly to them and say, "Hey, do you want to come and play for a little bit?" I did with Paul Sorvino. He was great. He also really came and played. He really cared about his work. He's a wonderful actor. I did two movies with him. One, The Bandit Hound, a family movie. He was very good in it. He had a very funny improvisational scene with Jim O'Hare, another wonderful actor. And then I did with him Bad Impulse, psychological horror thriller, supernatural. And he played the devil, which was great. And he was wonderful in that as well. And he will be missed.
Yeah. From the outside looking in, it feels like you've kind of come into the 20s guns a-blazing with your film, The Runner. How did that film come about for you?
The Runner came about one night where I was watching a news show about how police enforcement were finding those kids that were doing some pot, some drugs in school, and forced them to go undercover so that they could capture the big drug kingpin, the big drug lord of where their town was. And of course, parents don't know about it and tragedies happen. And I immediately started to really be moved by it. And I started to write 3 pages of what could happen to a kid that would be put in that position. And I called a friend of mine, screenwriter Jason Chase Terrell, and I said to him, "Let's write this. Let's make this story. Let's make this movie." And I found a kid that was perfect for it, a really wonderful actor in my class. One night, all the lights went out on the block, and so there were 3 scenes left. And I asked the students to hold up the phone with the light so they could finish the work. And he did this scene that brought chills to me. And I said, I want you to read this story. I'm developing this movie. And he loved it. And the rest is history, except for one thing. It almost did not get made because we were going to push it, as many movies always get pushed, to April. And we ended up shooting it in December and then shooting the rest of it in January, February, and right before March, before the lockdown. So I had time, very, quiet time to edit, which was a great learning experience. Because normally it's always like, the urgency of getting it done, on the fast lane all the time. And I was taking my time and exploring more choices. And I realized, boy, if I can just bring this experience into everything that I do, that would be just great.
Well, and it seems as if the lead in that film, I mean, he seems like he's got a really bright future ahead. I mean, I watched parts of that, and I mean, riveting.
Yes, after the movie, he ended up signing with, with a big agent in Hollywood, and he booked two movies with Ridley Scott. And one is coming out now, Napoleon. He has a good part in it. I can't wait to see it.
Let's chat about what we've all been waiting for, your incredible feature film, Miranda's Victim. I know I'm an attorney also aside from doing this, so I know the story already. Tell us, but I want you to tell us the story behind the film and how you became attached to direct it.
So I am very interested, fascinated with crime stories. As a matter of fact, everybody, my whole family makes fun of me all the time because I watch all the Datelines and the 48 Hours and the Forensic Files and all of it. I'm fascinated about how someone can turn on someone and act on their dark side. So on a Sunday, I get the offer. I get this email saying, we'd like to offer you this movie. Well, would you be interested? And I was like, wow, they must know that this is right up my alley. I think I even emailed that back. This is right up my alley. I feel like I did. And normally I wait till Monday to get into the office and, we do emails and stuff. But I answered myself, which is very unusual. And I was immediately drawn to the story. And of course, immediately understood that nobody told the story before. It was completely unique. My last movie, The Runner, first scene in the movie, you have the right to remain silent. Anything will be held, the whole thing. But I never questioned, where did that come from? And so this movie tells us the story, how the Miranda rights came about. But at the core of it, there's a story of a very brave woman, 18 at the time, Patricia Weir, who defied everybody, took her power, and decided that she needed to speak the truth. The movie's not released yet. They'll probably be released in the fall, but it premiered as the opening night movie in the Historical Theater in Santa Barbara, Theater. And on last Thursday, it premiered in Tampa, Florida, at the Tampa Theater, another historical theater. So we played two historical theaters. One had 2,000 people. The other one had close to 1,000. And people really responded to the movie. They laughed at times. They were outraged. They cried, but everybody felt at the end when it said, for every thousands of, of rapes and violations, only about 5 people, there's only 5 convictions. And that's a statistic that is scary. And that is the reason why you should watch this movie.
Well, and the statistics of how few people come forward to begin with, and then you apply the percentage of the convictions from those who come forward, it even reduces, the number of people the percentage of people who commit, who actually get convicted it reduces even further.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
And I will say this about the film. I mean, my goodness, what a cast you put together. Abigail Breslin, Donald Sutherland, Andy Garcia, Luke Wilson, just to name a few of them. Did you know any of them personally before casting them and working with them on this film?
Yes, I knew Enrique Murciano, who gives an extraordinary performance. As a matter of fact, I did my first movie with him, How to Go Out on a Date in Queens. And for every movie thereafter, I always called to find out if he was available. I always wanted to cast him. He's an incredible talent. He was always busy. He's always working. And this time I called as well. No, he's not available till July. And I was shooting in June. And he said, I'm going to have them kill me off the show so I can come work with you again. And he also studied with me a very long time ago. I was his first teacher. And he said that I changed his life. And I love him. He's such an incredible talent. So I knew him. I met with Abigail Breslin here in LA. And immediately we looked into each other's eyes and we said, we're going to do this together. We just had a wave of connection and wonderful energy. And she's shooting a movie right now. She's an incredible talent. Donald Sutherland was always one of my very favorite actors. He reminded me of my father. So he was the first actor that said yes. And when he said yes, I really felt that I had angels looking over this movie, and my father was one of those angels. And then Kyle MacLachlan was my son's idea because, and I love Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah.
Emily Van Cam and Josh Bowman were just also great. We've all watched the show Revenge that they were fabulous in. Always loved Ryan Felipe, always loved Luke Wilson. But one of the shows that's one of my very favorite shows is called The Killing. And in that show, Mireille Enos is the lead, and Brent Sexton is the lead in the first season. And I love both their work. They're just beyond extraordinary actors. And I asked them both, and they said yes, and they were my first choice. I got a lot of my first choices. I was just now, Nolan Gold from Modern Family was in Florida. We did an NBC interview, and he was my first choice, and he came. He plays the very young love interest of Abigail Breslin. And also this newcomer, Sebastian Quinn, who plays Ernesto Miranda, is quite fabulous. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but Dan Lauria, who actually I did know, and I did another movie with him, Bad Impulse. Wonderful Dan Lauria, who I've admired his work for years and Wonder Years on Broadway and Lombardi. And he came in and played the part of the doctor. So, yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I was just beyond lucky to get these extraordinary actors to come and tell this important story.